what's going on? It's Preacher. Let's look at Legion's Endgame. We're all excited about it because this might make or break WoW, right? If they do another WOD and there's no real endgame besides the scheduled shit, which we can only do at certain times of the week, that would be a real fucking problem, like a real big problem, and people will not be impressed if we get a repeat of that. So hopefully they've learned from their mistakes, and I'm about to tell you, yeah, pretty much, and we're going to start off by looking at Suramar. Suramar, the level 110 zone. Once you reach level 110, you'll receive a message to go and see Mr. Cad, and he will then inform you that we've received a message in a bottle, and something's going down at Suramar City, and maybe you should go and stick your dick in there and see what's going on. Give it a little swoosh around and line it up real nice. So, what is it all about? This is a risk by Blizz. A risk. There are a lot of people who are not going to like Suramar. Not going to like it at all. Suramar is a story, which is a real change of what they've been doing previously, which has all been about carrots. I was a big complainer of this in WoD. It's like everything needs to have some fucking carrot all the time. Like this fear that players won't do something unless they have this carrot dangled in front of them. It's got to be gear. It's got to be fucking Apexis. It's got to be this and that. It's got to have some sort of gratification, a very quick gratification. Otherwise, it's not worth. That old adage of gamers, not worth. You know, I've done it lots of times as well. It's like I've looked at something, I want to reach a certain place, and I'll decide which way is worth and which way is not. Suramar is a complete takeout of that. Is it worth? This will be entirely down to you. If you're looking for gear, you will not come to Suramar. If you're looking for quick artifact power, you will not come to Suramar. No, you will not. In fact, you might get the occasional quest reward, which grants you some, but comparisons to dungeons or world quests, which we'll look at in different videos, is it worth? No. No, it's not. This is not what this zone is about. This zone is a story. It's a story Blizzard wants to tell you, and they've got to come up with some ingenious ways of telling you that story. And I'm looking forward so fucking much to the development of the voice acting and all that we've started to see incrementally appear in the Legion Alpha. Quests that previously didn't have it now have really good voice acting. On the streams, we've been turning it down so we can listen to the voice acting because it's that good. Blizzard always hits the nail on the head with that stuff. And Suramar is one of the places that I really hope they put so much into, because some players are going to need convincing to come and do Suramar, and that's what we'll talk about today. So what is Suramar all about? In the Broken Isles, we're going to be introduced to some new factions. One of them in particular is going to be the Nightborn. What are the Nightborn? Well, within Suramar City lies the Nightwell. Nightwell is ripping massive amounts of arcane energy out of the underflowing lines of Azeroth, and they are not only addicted to it, but they need it. They have evolved to need the energy, and they thrive on it. And they are a very upper class, very opulent lifestyle, very rich culture that sees itself as extremely upper class, and they throw these lavish ball gowns and masquerade parties and feasts in to celebrate their awesomeness. Think of it a little bit like the story of the Hunger Games, where you have these different districts, and the very top end just live a ridiculously over-the-top lifestyle, and that's the kind of picture you will get of the Nightborn. However, the Nightborn are physically very weak, very frail, very sinewy, very tall and gangly creatures, which is why they like their masquerade balls. It all fits the theme of what they're going for here. That's where they like to look, and illusions of looking like other creatures of Azeroth at their parties, so that they can have this sort of facade that they're powerful as well in the physical world as they are in the magic world. However, commit a crime, and you will be exiled from Suramar. You will be exiled from the Nightwell. And this is where they've gone down a very dark route, honestly. They portray those that are exiled, which then become known as the Nightfallen, as being very much similar to heavy drug addicts in the real world that we know of and we see every single day. They are portrayed as being scratching at their own flesh. Their dialogue becomes incoherent. They're unable to function. They will literally start begging you for scraps of energy. Please, can I have these cheeseburgers? I'll suck your dick. That is exactly the way they go. They will do literally anything in order to get some magic out of you, some little remnants, and that is what the Nightfallen are, scurrying around the outskirts of Suramar for scraps of arcane energy from the local wildlife or whatever. Now, it turns out this addiction actually does turn bad. If they go for too long without getting ample sustenance of this magic, then they will actually have their minds rot and die, and they will become known as the third real interesting character of this area, the Withered. The Withered are just basically the mindless zombies that are just endlessly searching for food, and that's about their entire purpose. And they are terrified, absolutely terrified of going from this very high-end, opulent lifestyle down to becoming a Withered, and they don't want that to happen. So when you find the Nightfallen, they are desperate, utterly desperate to get their hands on some sort of arcane magic. Very interesting story, and actually really quite graphical. The story for Suramar actually begins in Azuna. I would seriously recommend that during your leveling experience, whichever zones you decide to go to, Azuna is definitely on your list. Otherwise, Suramar, the very beginning of Suramar, will make very, very little sense. And honestly, as I said, this is a risk for Blizzard. If you're not into the story, or you're not interested in reading a little bit of the dialogue and some of the quest text and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to really understand why the fuck you're doing anything in Suramar, and it will come across as this huge, seemingly endless stream of quests, although you've already capped. And I think that's where it might fall down for a lot of people, and I really hope it doesn't. I don't want this to be a failure, because I have to tell you this, guys. When I've logged into Legion over the last 4 days, I have had choices. I could do world quests, which will give me instant gratification of blues and stuff, or I could do dungeons and get some gear, or I could do the profession quest lines, which again we're going to look at in another video. I have a whole option, an array of things, let alone the garrison campaigns, to keep me interested in stuff to do while I've got a capped character. All I've wanted to do is come down to Suramar and continue my journey. That's all I've wanted to do, is come down here and continue my journey. This place is fantastic. It's huge. Absolutely huge. Not only is it pretty geographically similar to a zone in size, but it works on at least 3 different levels, as well as teleporters that take you to different levels. The tunnels of the city extend far and wide, as well as the overland where the Legion now has a presence. And of course, we have the middle ground as per normal. This place is fucking enormous. So, with the general story being that the protective shield around Suramar being dropped, they couldn't sustain it, is that the Nightborn, the very top-end Nightborn, the leaders of the Nightborn, have decided to ally themselves with Gul'dan and demons. So we're essentially looking at the start of a civil war, hence my Hunger Games analogy. That is what's going down. The Nightfallen see an opportunity here. A lot of the Nightborn do not agree with teaming up with demons, and you will find that out. The whole event of Suramar is explaining this story to you and unlocking it in various ways. So, firstly, you're going to find the Nightfallen, and they're going to be desperate to get back on their feet, because they're so addicted and reliant on this energy that they'll be begging you in order to just give them something so they can actually start to process and think properly again. And you'll do that, and then you'll start to establish the rebellion base, essentially. But at the same time, you're going to be exploring the zone. And along that journey, you're also going to start mingling with the Nightborn themselves. You'll visit these masquerade parties where you'll be able to dress up as well, and people will be suspicious of you, and you'll get to talk to them and speak to them. And you'll see examples of this if you've seen the Court of Stars. That video is coming out shortly on my channel as well, where there's a lot of talking and visiting parties and how glorious their lifestyle is. But it's all a facade. It's all a facade. There's many people who are angry with the way the decision to go and team up with Gul'dan has gone, and you're going to walk into the middle of this. You'll deal with smugglers who are smuggling Nightfallen back into the city so that they can live, and smuggling people out who have hearing about the rebellion as well. You'll start meeting people who used to have some role but was shut down, and you're going to do this in a way that's really interesting. Classically, WoW, since the Burning Crusade, has gone with the idea of having a quest hub, and then providing you with multiple quests. You go out and do that in a very sort of small and easy area, complete all the quests, come back, turn them all in, and then get sent to somewhere else. They've changed that in Suramar quite well. This time they'll give you one quest. That's the story quest. And it'll say, why don't you head over here and do this quest? Go meet this guy. We kind of need to get our communications or our power systems back online. And that'll usually involve some sort of Zelda-style puzzle. Very Legend of Zelda-style puzzles. And then, along the way, if you pay attention to your map, you'll notice that there are a variety of quest NPCs that the game is absolutely not telling you to do, but they're there. Very interesting. At the same time, you'll have world quests popping up. So if you want to do maybe the odd fill the bar, I've seen about 2, and I've been here for like 3 days. So I'm not saying there's a lot of fill the bar shit here. There really isn't. There's no daily quests as of yet either. It's not that style of gameplay either. This is completely different. This isn't a leveling zone either. This is very, very different. Is you'll have to bump into these quest NPCs, and they'll tell you their mini-story of something they're doing there. Because not only do we have this story of the Nightborn, the Nightfallen, and the Withered, but also the Legion is here. It has a presence here. Also, the various factions that we've already found through the Broken Isles are also here, because this is a very powerful area. The tribes of the High Mountain are here and trying to get a presence. We have the people of Stormheim trying to make a presence. These all exist within Suramar, but they're all there for their own agendas and own reasons, and going and finding them out will often help you along the main story quest by revealing a location that maybe you were looking for, or they won't have anything to do with it at all, but they'll have their own mini interactive story. In total, there's apparently about 300 events that go on in Suramar, and I've been able to have the interesting experience of having a lot of quests bug out, as in quest lines come to a stop, and traditionally in WoW that means you're generally scuppered. If your quest line or main storyline comes to a close and you can't complete it for whatever reason, teleporters aren't working or the phasing's not quite right yet, usually you're stunted at that point. Nope. This zone is continuously still throwing content at me in different areas. If one of my quest lines comes to an end, what I've found is that I can go to a different area and start a brand new one that just continues to open up various parts of the zone all of its own. And that is so good. It's so good. Because all I'm thinking while I'm doing this stuff is, one, I'm never running out of content here, even after a long time compared to a lot of WoW stuff. This is way longer than any sort of leveling zone. But simultaneously can't wait to go back and continue the other stories that currently aren't working yet, because they're interesting. This stuff is genuinely interesting that's going on here. And I want to see how it plays out. And I want to see how it works. As I said, there aren't great rewards here other than the experience and the fun. And that has really been an eye-opening experience for me. Really eye-opening experience for me. Is it kind of backs up my belief in my own personal playstyle. I understand not many people, there might not be many people who agree with me, is that you don't need to have these carrots all the time. You don't need to say, well, this quest will give you some major blue that will help you in your dungeons. This quest will give you a lot of artifact power. It doesn't have to work that way if the content itself is actually just good. And this content is good. There's not a lot of just simple quests. If they do have a simple quest to break it up and give you some combat, it's usually really small. You're not collecting 20 things. You're collecting 6, and they're really easy to find. And you're not going to kill like 3 or 4 mobs and come back. They're going to ask you to do maybe 4 or 5. That came out wrong, but you know what I mean. They're not going to ask you to go farm an area or something like that. There's certainly no quest where you go and it's like, can you fill the bar and just grind out this area? There's none of that going on. There's the option to do it, but it's only going to reward you gold at the end of the day. There's no reason to give experience. There's no reason to give items. There's no reason for any of that. They just want you to experience it. It's such a bold move, and I love it. As I said, I can't help but log in and want to go to Suramar, and I'm really sad that I've got to turn myself away to look at other things. But this could be a big problem for a lot of people. If your goal when you start is just to gear up, you're not going to come here. And ultimately, this will be somewhere you end up coming simply because you want something to do. And I hope when that happens, you don't have the experience which you will have if you don't pay attention to what's going on here, as to not really understanding what the fuck you're doing here. If you don't do the Azuna opening quest line, you won't really understand what's going on with the Nightfallen and the Nightborn. And certainly it will make no sense whatsoever as to why you're just doing these quests which seemingly are just recruiting NPCs for no apparent reason. Because they don't actually do anything. They don't do anything in terms of a gratification or instant reward or anything like that. They don't open up like a quartermaster that's going to give you mounts and pets, that usual stuff. I would like to say the gameplay is a huge combination of Isle of Keldanas, the Firelands, in terms of upgrading the settlement, which then leads to further quests and stuff. But you're not going to come back and say, oh, well, this is just dailies. That's not happening here at all. It's something new and something fresh. Every few minutes is just being thrown at you. And it's been a wonderful, fucking amazing experience. Really amazing experience. It's been really nice to go and see that the city isn't all lavish and nice, all despite its facade. It's nice to see that there are huge problems amongst the Nightfall, and while you're actually bringing them together, there are still people who hate each other and have hated each other for a long time. There are people who are testing and using medical experiments on people. There's possible communication with the Withered, and you'll be wrangling them up. And you can use them if you're going to be doing some of the tougher quests which come down the line. You can actually recruit them for some just NPC extra damage once you start actually having excesses of the resource. There is a resource here, but it is the arcane magics in order to literally get the NPCs on their feet and working while you set everything else up. It's not Apexis. You're not turning this in for anything. All you get to do once you ultimately finish here is turn it into getting a little bit of help to get the zone done quicker. I have no doubt that eventually this zone, once it is complete, and I've got to say, I've put a lot of hours into here. I'm about a third of the way through unlocking the map. Literally the map. I have no doubt at the very end of this, there will be some of the classic rewards available for completing the zone. But that's not what it's about. It's not about that at all. It's about coming and just having something to do that's interesting. At the very start of the area, I did die a few times because the mobs are scaled to level 110 and designed around the idea that you have some gear. But once I equipped a few of the heroic blue pieces and heroic relic slots, then I was absolutely fine. Absolutely fine and progressing as normal. It's not designed for anything completely over the top. And honestly, god damn, it doesn't even need those rewards. This place is fucking cool as it is. I have no doubt it might even turn into a bit of a gold mine. I've noticed that while I've been doing the quest, my gold has been going through the roof compared to like normal questing. And I think that is a great way of coming and doing this. I have no doubt eventually there will be some dailies involved in this place, but I think the dailies won't be just the blue exclamation marks you know of. They'll be going to an area, your favorite area of Suramar, and everything just kind of just popping up or being there, or picking up the quest while you're down there, going looking to where you enjoy to be. But this is just about a story. It's just about telling a story. And Blizzard wants to experience that and they want to trial it out. They've given so many other options for doing the quick, rewarding stuff. We have world quests. We have the profession system. We have the garrison campaign. We have dungeons. If you want the classic instant rewards, they still exist. But Suramar is a step away from that. It's a step away from that just to say, look, here's some cool content we've created. No, we're not going to shower you in shit just for being here, right? We're not going to just drench you in pearls for coming down here. We're just going to say, get on with this and see what you think. Ultimately, Suramar has been the best thing I've seen in Legion so far. I've had an absolute blast down here. Just wanted to log in and find out what's going on. Like any good video game, I want to know what happens next. And isn't that what's the best thing about some video games? When you turn it off and you walk away, is that you're thinking, I wonder what happens next there. I really want to know what goes on next. I want to do the next piece and see where this puzzle all fits together. Will we start a big rebellion war? I don't know. I don't know. And I have to tear myself away and move on to other things right now. And other people might go 100% in this zone, but I'm quite happy to let this be for now. I've put enough time into it to say this is not Tanahan Jungle. This is not somewhere that you're just going to come, grab some items, get the fuck out, farm the rares, and do all that kind of shit. There are rare mobs here. They'll probably have some gear on them eventually. There's plenty of them to do. And ultimately, it's just about an experience. It's just a good experience. And it's easily the best thing I've seen in Legion so far for cat characters. And I can't wait to do it when on my main. I think some downfalls, some possible pitfalls, let's say. This zone is really big. I would love it if there is some sort of unlocking process to be done here that results in some rewards, that would be account-wide, or at least on the server, as repeating this story on multiple characters. I don't think that's going to be a fun experience. I really don't think that's going to be a fun experience, is to say I want to do this on alts. But then again, the potential is, if there's nothing worth doing it on alts for, and it's just supposed to be a long-lasting single player sort of experience that you can come down and have fun in, then that's okay to do it on one character. If there is ultimately, and maybe whining could be involved in this, that people are like, there's not much point in doing Suramar because I'm not going to get anything shiny out of it. If that becomes an overwhelming voice, then they need to consider that maybe there needs to be a way to speed this up for alts and stuff, because it is an extremely expansive zone. But if they keep it as it is, that it's just a fun experience and a cool story that ultimately leads to a raid, as we know it will be, then I'm more than happy to do it on my main character and just let it be. And just let it be, and hopefully they do something really interesting with it in the future. And this is a place where the story could develop. This place is so large that I could easily see at the next patch, the next part of Suramar's rebellion takes place, and then they just revamp the whole zone with a lot of new stuff, and they basically have this playground, is what I see it as, a playground to keep adding more and more stuff and developing this story, because it's so big, it's so wide, there's so many different directions they could go with it, that they can easily just make a lot of quests continuously and a lot of story for this one zone, and you can experience it as you travel through. And I'm really hoping that's the ultimate end game for this. Alright guys, Suramar. Fucking wonderful. Really cool. Let's hope it pays off. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.